I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My turn then?
Let's start with the approval of minutes.
Move it.
Move it, second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay, let's go right into resolutions. The first one, it's a resolution authorizing adjustment to the contract for Rides to Recovery, Department of Mobility Management. Now, as I understand, we have a contract right now with Catholic Charities, and it ends the 31st of this year. Now, and we're going to be putting $330,000 from the CARES Act money into this contract, so that they don't.
Discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Roy. Can I have a motion to discuss?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Okay, yes. And now, so we put that $330,000 into that particular contract just to get us to the end of the year?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's been a lot of data we were able to collect this year, and the program had a lot of people using it. I can tell you that the majority of the trips are employment related. The state sent Tim and I a letter yesterday that gave us our 5311, which is our main funding. And they basically said, hey, this is your funding for 23 to 25 and operating, but you guys are not allowed to spend it until you finish spending your CARES funding. And you have the date they gave us is December 31st of 25 to spend it. So I don't believe they're going to extend it after that. They could possibly do that. But I do want to finish out Rights to Recovery, and then we've been talking about maybe doing some employment transportation services, partnering with Workforce to get ready for a work-ready community, and maybe do some employment transportation because that's where the majority of the trips are. But we do need to finish up the contract this year with the vendor.
Okay.
But after that, I want Kristen and I to handle trips in-house. We don't need to pay a vendor to do that for us. We have enough leverage where we can do that, and maybe partner with Rachel's team to do something like that to help spend some of that money.
Okay. So basically, the Catholic Charities contract was to get our feet out there to see who's using it. Is it worth it? Is it a program that we should do? It's proven we do need it. We are a poverty county, and this is something, in order to get out of poverty, we need to get people working.
Mhm.
And so this would be a great use of that transportation.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Is this money going to Catholic Charities to use?
So we have a current contract with them. We pay them a contract rate to book and schedule all the trips, and they do schedule them with taxi providers that pick up the clients and take them to employment. So after this contract ends in December, the majority of the funds is paying for the taxis. But that's why I want to bring it in-house, because I don't think we need to pay a vendor and have our money go towards that. Kristen and I can handle that in-house now.
But this money's gonna go there.
It goes towards their budget, and then they use that funding to pay for the taxi services.
And do we have any statistics on how many are using it?
Yes. Yes, so I unfortunately didn't get a hold of Kristen in time yesterday to
Well, this
send
is
her.
your first day back.
I know.
But we do have over 1,000 trips a month that are employment related. The remainder of the trips are other social determinants of health that get people to recovery, food sources, and we have another program that Nicole Colmsey has that's mental hygiene, and that does the same type of trips, and so we can disperse some of those other trips. The one type of service they don't do is employment related trips. And so that's why I want to create a different service, partner with Rachel, help us become a work-ready community, and put some of that funding that we need to spend in a year towards the majority of the data that we got, which is employment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what we've got left, I believe, it says like 1.5 million in the CARES Act.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
Okay, so we take this 330 out by the end of this year, so you're gonna have a little bit over $1 million next year. And you have to spend that before we can get the 5311 funds.
Correct. And we have those funds from 23 to 25. So we have a couple years worth of those funds that we can't, they're kind of frozen right now.
Okay. That's a hard thing, isn't it? A
I know.
terrible problem. We have to spend this money in order to get this money.
Yeah, and we could use some of that CARES funding to pay our other vendor for our normal transportation services, which we will do also to help spend it. So we'll save some of our STOA that we normally get, and we'll use the CARES
Well, I'm glad that we're using it for this rides to recovery, because I think it's so important. I don't want them to stop it if they ran out of money to be able to pay for the taxis. That kind of disrupts the whole process of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good choice. Thank you.
And we could, during the transition period when we're creating the new employment transportation, Kristen and I can take care of those floater people and reduce some of the funding to help, so that they can get employment trips without having a gap there.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. EP2, resolution authorizing budgetary modifications, Department of Community Development, Tourism and Planning, snowmobile trail. Now, I understand this is the money that New York State collects from the registrations from all the snowmobilers, and then they take that money and they send it all to us, and now we disperse it. Basically, we're just a middle guy. We're just a pass-through. And we have 10 different clubs, and they're happy with this. That's the way they get their money, so I don't see why they wouldn't be.
I'll make a motion.
And I would make a motion to discuss. Yes, you will. Thank you so much.
Second.
Second. I don't know, this morning I just don't want to make that. I want to get right into it. I'm all excited about
I
it.
like it.
Okay, we're blowing right along.
So, yeah, if I could, so this is the same thing pretty much every year. We did get, thankfully, a little bump. The per mileage rate did go up a little bit this year. Our clubs were thankful for that. As you can imagine, the last 2 years have been very difficult on our clubs. We just have not had the snow they've needed. A couple of the clubs have had trouble spending the money, so to speak. They can only get it if they spend it. It's really reimbursed. And so they've got to show justification of need for it and use. Many of the clubs didn't do a lot of maintenance. It wasn't much snow. A few of the more active clubs, I would say the majority of our clubs were able to spend it all, and thankfully they're then getting reimbursed. But they were able to pivot a little bit to do some, much needed bigger picture like renovation or, something they could do without snow, so to speak. They were able to buy some equipment and things like that. But that will only work for so many years. You can't keep buying a new equipment every single year. And so they are really hoping that, as many of our residents are, that this is a good snowmobile season. So we will see how that goes. The other thing that's also an issue that we've been told by the state is that they do fund these monies, these maintenance monies, to the clubs through the registrations of snowmobiles. What they're finding is that there's been a substantial decrease in people registering their snowmobiles. And so the pool of money that the state gets has dropped significantly as well. What they've told us, and I don't know if it was in writing or anything like that, but on the phone calls, they've told us that they've essentially spent down their fund balance in the last 2 years because of the lack of registrations. And so if it is to continue, there could very well be an effect on the clubs because there's not money in the pool to then get to the clubs. We were able to track last year the number of registrations sold in Oswego County through our clerk's office and compare the dollars that the state brought in from Oswego County alone to what they give us, and they actually are giving us substantially more from the state because of our mileage than we actually turn if you were to just say keep the money ourselves. So our county does pretty well on this program. Other counties, I'm sure, are the other way around. That doesn't take into account people who buy their registrations elsewhere and come use our trails here because it goes where you live based on that. So we've actually had a pretty good, I would say, experience with that. Our clubs, again, are very thankful for it. So we will see kind of what that looks like in the future. But at least for this year, we do have all the funding that we need for the clubs to do the maintenance.
I know I heard some of the clubs, along with the frustration, is that they would get a little snow, they'd go out there, groom it, get it all ready, and then the snow melts. So nobody can use it. So it was extremely frustrating. So I guess if we could have just enough snow to keep them happy and no more, because we didn't get way too much snow. We wish too much, so be careful what we wish for. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor? Opposed? Passed.
And in fact, I'd like to thank Angel in my office downstairs oversees this whole program. She does a wonderful job working with the clubs, making sure they have all the information they need and doing all the administrative work. So I just want to give a credit for that.
Now, we have a yearly meeting with them, correct?
Yeah, well, I think we've actually started going biannual with that. We get all the clubs in here. They get to meet. Chairman usually comes as well and all the legislators, and it gives an opportunity for them to see just how we do value that program. So.
All right, thank you. EP3, resolution authorizing budget mod to transfer ARPA funds within workforce development budget to support EMS training. Motion to discuss.
Move it.
Second. Okay, now, as I understand, these are ARPA funds that we have, City BOCES has a new EMS program, or is it the second year of the public safety, fire, and EMT program?
They're embedding it into the
the senior class of the
Okay.
public safety program.
All right, because this is for the school year 24-25.
Correct.
City BOCES. Now, we're giving 14,000 out of our ARPA funds, out of your ARPA funds, workforce development.
So EMO actually has a resolution in this round as well to transfer 9,000 from their budget of internal ARPA funds to our budget. I'm just shifting the money within my budget, so then we have the total that we'll need to then contract with BOCES so that they can pay for it. They are embedding this program into their budget come the 2025-26 school year.
Okay.
And there is input from Mentor Ambulance as well. They're buying books. And then there's other ambulance services that they're going to be working with to administer the program.
And they, well, obviously, very important to have EMTs and to get them trained. I know with the public safety committee that we always go through is that they're always having classes, and they'll have a class of 20, but by the time it ends, they've only got a class of 9 or less. And then, so that hurts, is that they get the excitement, and then they find out, ooh, I don't know. I guess some of them, it's when they get on the job training, it's like when they get their first real trauma, it's like, I can't do this. So it really takes special people to be our first responders. So we have to, what is the old saying? You got to separate the wheat from the chaff. And so we'll get some good people out there for our Oswego residents. Any other questions or concerns? Those in favor? Opposed? Passed. Okay. We have next is a bid for the visitor guide printing and delivery. I believe you had 6 different people that applied. Now Millennium, is that the one that, were they here last year as well?
Yeah.
Yes. And last year they were, let me see, 64,383. This year they're up to 75,000, but they're still the lowest bidder.
Yeah, increase in paper, so.
No surprise there.
Yeah.
I guess this is just an information. We don't have to approve it, or we do need to approve. Yes, we do need to approve.
I believe so. right?
Yeah, we have to approve this. Okay. Any motion to discuss?
Well, I mean, we need the motion would want to specify that, I guess we don't have to have a motion to discuss yet because it's not a resolution.
Yeah.
Is the shipping going to be much greater to Canada than it is from Missouri? Is that, $271 more? I mean, a lot of times there's hassles at the border.
Yeah.
Oh, shipping is included? That print's way too small without my glasses. I didn't bring my glasses.
Yeah, I saw that the result, there was one from New York, I guess Vestal, but they sent their bid in by email, which right on the directions says that's not acceptable. So sad that we couldn't get a New York company, but I guess Canada, I almost think Canada is closer than Missouri or Colorado.
I know it's closer,
Florida.
but I mean, I do a lot of shipping with my business, and I know stuff going back and forth to Canada, it could be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if it's not an issue, or if it's included in the price, then I'm all for it. I would move to accept the low bidder as Millennium.
Second? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, bid goes ahead. Reporting documents, Operation Oswego County update.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I have several updates to give. The first is that a couple weeks ago we co-hosted a foreign trade zone event with Port of Oswego, also with the Onondaga County Office of Economic Development, and SUNY Oswego and the Chamber and the Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce. So it went really well. We had about 40 attendees. Half of those were businesses that were interested in potentially participating in the foreign trade zone. And the other half were others, economic development, workforce development kind of stakeholders and people trying to learn more information about it. So it was a good event. I think next time we'll try to not schedule at the same time as Workforce Development Board meetings, so we can have some additional attendees there, but it was good. And to sort of dovetail on that, there was also recent news that the Port of Oswego received $11.5 million towards the construction, about half the funding needed towards the construction of a new warehouse facility on site at the port to support the foreign trade zone and bonded warehousing and things like that. So we're making a big push to try and have a lot of the materials that are going to be coming in through by ship to go through the port there for Micron and for other other projects that are going to be landing in the region over the next several years. So they're making that push. We assisted them, supported that. Other things that we're working on right now, the Restore New York program, the deadline for applications is later this month. We're currently working with 2 different projects, one in the city of Oswego, one in the city of Fulton, for potential Restore New York funding. So we'll, in several months, we'll hopefully come back with some positive news related to that. One of the big things going on right now, and I know that the county has also been involved in it, but just wanted to bring it up, is that there is a lot of support and momentum around the nuclear industry right now. Right now, New York State is put out an RFP for advanced nuclear companies to look to develop new nuclear technology and new nuclear generation in New York State. There's a lot of focus on what's called the small modular reactors, but Oswego County is uniquely positioned with probably the most important of the nuclear companies in all of New York State, and actually in the country. They're the largest nuclear generator in the U.S., which is Constellation. So we are uniquely positioned for new nuclear generation. So we have been doing a lot of advocacy. There's a lot of stuff going on through NYSERDA and at the state level right now, New York ISO, trying to see how nuclear is going to play a part in their aggressive strategies and goals to become 100% clean energy by 2040. They're a little behind the curve right now on that. So obviously supporting the nuclear energy and the jobs that creates is extremely important in Oswego County, as well as potential new nuclear coming in. So that's something we are pushing right now. And
now, Austin, I understand. I don't want to interrupt, but if I lose my thought, there isn't, I believe, is it Constellation? Not would be Constellation, but is it Fitzpatrick? That is the second oldest nuclear plant in the world. The only
9 Mile 1 is the oldest in the U.S.
But Sweden, I think, had one before us, but I think that was the first one, and I think we were the next.
Yeah, we'd be the oldest in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's 9 Mile 1, and then Fitzpatrick's a little bit newer, and then 9 Mile 2 is newer than that. But it's important right now because the licensing for 2 of those 3 plants is coming up very soon, and also some of the state subsidy programs that help to make those plants competitive. The Zero Emission Credit Program, ZEX, is also up in 2029. So it's sort of, we have this, they're trying to get some of these programs to help support nuclear reapproved at the same time that they have to go to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and get those facilities relicensed for an additional 20 years. So everything's looking positive. Momentum is going in the right direction. I don't see any issues with that, but it is an opportunity for us here in the county to provide support we have 3 of the 4 operating nuclear plants in all of New York State. Those plants produce about 2,500 megawatts of the state's about 3,200 megawatts total. So, I mean, we are a massive player in the power generation for New York State. And we are part of, in my opinion, we're part of the solution for them if they do want to get to 100% clean generation by 2040.
And are we not the only place in New York that is licensed right now to build a nuclear plant?
Well, that and Grenade property in Young County.
Both of the Constellation sites have sort of the ability to add new. Part of the issue would be the sizing of the distribution to get that to the grid, but that is not as difficult as having the place to actually do it. But no, so it's that's something that's going well, and hopefully there'll be more to share in the future on that.
We should do everything we can to capitalize on it too. With the new administration that's coming in, I mean, these next 4 years are going to be critical for nuclear. So we should do everything we can to support that.
Yep, and then just the 4th thing I wanted to add here is that Operation Oswego County is going to be going through strategic planning exercises in early 2025. Which could include, I don't want to put it out there if it's not going to happen, but it could include some branding, name change opportunities, things like that. So this is something that we looked at doing several years ago, but at the time there were issues related to us being a 504 lender through SBA, and so there couldn't be a name change. So there are some new opportunities now for us to look at potential name changes, things like Oswego County Economic Development Corporation or something like that, that tells the name of what you do a little bit better. Maybe we won't get confused with OCO all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
OCO. So it's
Yeah.
like I said, it's something that we are in the very beginning stages of evaluating as part of our strategic planning that will be going for the sort of the first quarter or first half of 2025. But I would welcome all input and participation from the county to be a part of that, as we are the county's economic development arm, in terms of being a part of that strategic planning going forward, and you know where we take this for the long term.
Ed?
Yeah, could you just put a ticker in your file to, in part of that strategic planning to discuss the this CPACE program
Mhm.
again?
I just had a conversation with somebody about that last week about CPACE.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other question?
So the rebranding, I think, is a great idea.
Mhm.
For some reason, we almost always say, whoever OCO. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, have you spoken with Representative Tenney about these new nuclear ideas? It might be something to put on her radar, and also even to contact Lee Zeldin's office, as he's been appointed or asked to chair the EPA. So might be good to get out in front of some of this stuff, get on their radar now before they're even back to work.
And yeah, so I have not yet, but that is a great idea, and I have that. I just wrote that down. That'll be something I do when I get back to the office.
Excellent, thank you.
The timing couldn't be better from that perspective to really push ourselves.
Good.
Any other questions? Thank you, Austin. Workforce development, Rachel.
All right, so we are kind of in the final steps of our wheel of financial audit, New York State DOL. Our financial monitor was actually at our office for 2 days last week. So we're just getting final pieces of information to him, and so far it's got to go all the way up the chain of DOL, but one or two minor findings that are already resolved as well. So once that goes up the chain and I get the final letter, I will bring it. I'm still waiting for a program monitoring final letter as well, and that is back in September. So I will share those when I get them. I did receive yesterday an NOA for our Office of Just Energy Transition Re-Employment Training Initiative funding for $124,660 to be able to use for HVAC training. So the money is good December 1st, 24 through November 30th of 25, but I did speak with BOCES and because they're bringing back their HVAC training program. That's what this money is for. That program is right now tentatively scheduled to start in May, so we'll wait to put the money in our budget come after the first of the year, since we're not going to even try and be recruiting for it. They don't have an instructor yet. But that will be coming down the line. Our Real Life Rosies program in partnership with CPP and MACNY does finish next week. All the participants, all 11, have participated in the work keys assessments. They have also been doing their curriculum through Tooling U to earn a manufacturing certification. So next week at the final class, we'll be providing through the grant funding $250 Visa gift cards for completion of the program. There are 11 of these women. And then another $250 Visa gift card for those that earn the manufacturing certification. And the plan is for those that don't earn that manufacturing certification through Tooling U, they're going to be put through OSHA 30 so that then they still have a certification moving forward. They have also all participated in interview days with some local manufacturers, and there's another $500 Visa gift card built into the program for when they can show proof of employment through a first paycheck when they come to us. So all in all, they could end up with $1,000 Visa gift cards. And a great job in manufacturing locally. And I know that MACNY has put in applications for more funding to be able to do more Real Life Rosies programs here in Oswego County. Just a couple
little things that we are doing over the next month. We do have some staff going to APW High School with some VR headsets for a career exploration day next week. We'll be going out with 4 of the DOL headsets, and they're allowing all of their juniors and seniors to be able to come into one of the business classrooms and be able to experience that. We're also participating in the City Trades Day coming up. We're also presenting all of our services to probation on the 16th, and then looking to be able to set up appointments between our employment specialists and the clients through probation to be able to help them get on their feet, get the resumes they need, and get into some suitable employment there. And then last week we did some metrics testing with Huhtamaki for their electrician apprenticeship program. They have 2 current openings, so they sent about 8 incumbent workers our way to be able to do the testing, get the scores they needed, and then be able to enter that electrician apprenticeship program. And that's about it for now, I guess.
Sometimes questions come about when it personally affects you. So I have a personal effect of, is there any workforce development for people that work on wood pellet stoves? There is nobody that works on wood pellet stoves.
I don't know, but I can look.
Yeah, I mean, I have searched everywhere and nobody works on them. It's like you call where you buy it. No, we don't work on it. And it's like, so you get a video online to tear it apart. And this ain't happening. So I'm very interested if there is something, because there is so many out there. Just go to any of the places, you see pallets and pallets of pellets. So everybody's using them. Not everybody, but a lot of people are, but there's nobody that's working on them. So, I mean, I just think that that's an opening in the workforce field. I think they would be very busy.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Sounds like you need to come on and retire.
Maybe I will, and I'll learn how to do it. Roy.
So I wanted to talk about the Workforce Development Board and its composition rather.
Mhm.
Now that it's we've moved workforce into its own department, it's been as chair of Human Services Committee, I'm an ex officio member of that board. Really intense, important meetings. Lots of local employers at those meetings. It's a great way to connect with outside the legislature and see what's going on and hear about what's going on at that board. And I really thought that there should be somebody from this committee, so we should look at how we change the composition of that so that there's somebody from this committee, maybe somebody who lives a little closer to Oswego. Because it's, I'm, as chair of Human Services, you're on so many different boards, it becomes difficult, and I think it would be really useful to have an extra person from this committee on that board, just so at least always one of us could be there.
I'll look at that composition and come back by next month or something, figure out what we're going to do.
Okay, that's
It makes
good.
some sense. But
It does.
Well, and especially because more of what's going on is now under this committee as opposed to where it all used to be under Human Services before.
and do you feel that Human Services Committee should still have a position there? Is it valuable to you to be on that board?
Well, I mean, it's valuable to me when I've been able to go, and I mean, that was a place where we were able to talk about the Work Ready Community Project, and different companies were talking about different things that they were doing. Some that are ride type sharing programs that some companies are doing. So. It could still be useful because we're doing some employment stuff from Human Services, but I think it's more important to have somebody from this committee. I'm on both, so
Yeah.
it kind of works for now, but I haven't been able to attend, I think, maybe the last couple.
So Jim, you can look at that for the composition. But as well as that, as well as having somebody dedicated to it, to let us know when the meetings are, so perhaps somebody else can also attend, if more members could attend, but we have at least one that is dedicated and should.
Well, and it's the same too with the Central New York Regional Planning Development Board, the Operation Oswego County Board meetings. All those meetings are great connections for us to be out there as legislators out in the community and making connections. Have you been attending the Operation Oswego County
Yeah.
meetings?
It goes to all.
And then, so it's all, good stuff. It's just a matter of being able to have enough bodies to get out and go to them.
Yes.
What if because I sit on the regional council as well, and I'm able to have sort of a delegate in the event that I can't make it. Is that another opportunity potentially to have somebody, if you can't go, to sit in your place? I don't know if maybe you could necessarily vote or not, but at least to attend it. I don't think there's anything against anyone attending
For the workforce board? No, anyone can attend, and actually, this year, we
Wouldn't
don't
be
have a
able
voting right?
Yeah, it just means you're
Yeah.
not
Sure.
ex officio. It just
Yeah.
means you're on it, but you don't
Yep.
vote.
Yeah. But at least you're learning and you're part of the discussion.
Oh,
which is
yeah,
good.
and you can bring up things that are important to the legislature to help, direct traffic, or let them know about programs that, we've got going. And it's just great networking, really, and it's outside of our, silo.
Well, that goes along with, I don't know if we heard anything from the Central New York, the Central Board. I mean, we've put in your name and Tim's. Have we heard anything back? No. So I don't know if we need to ask again to at least, we have to give them a choice.
Squeaky wheel.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, maybe we should do another letter saying, we sent it in. We've given you 2 names. Hop to it, guys. Okay, any other questions? Rachel, okay.
Oh yeah, one more, if I could. Assemblyman Barkley gave us a proclamation that was presented at the our event to roll out the work keys, and I was just wondering if we could send him a note to see if he wanted to come or send a representative to. We don't usually get too many proclamations from the assembly, especially from the minority leader of the assembly. And then we have that cool glass trophy that I think she showed last time. That was I think any noise we can make about the work keys and is important. So if we could maybe set, pardon me?
You mean for the 12th meeting?
For the 12th meeting, yeah. So since we don't have the agendas printed out yet, if it's possible to just make that request to Barkley to see if he wants to send somebody or if he wants to come and do it himself.
Yeah.
We've got 2 meetings that day, so he can come at 2 or he can come at 7.
That's right.
That'd be cool.
Okay, Jim?
Thank you.
And,
Yes.
yeah, I believe we have it, don't we?
Yeah, I have one.
I have one.
He goes, I'm sure he'll.
Yeah, you scanned it.
I scanned it too, yeah.
Mounted to a piece of wood type of thing.
Da, 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 da.
It's just, hey, look, it's a chance for him. He just got reelected. He just got reappointed as minority leader. What the heck, it's close to home.
Yeah,
Come on out.
come on out. Okay, let's go to promotion and tourism. Dan?
Visitor guide, you guys just awarded, we have 3 new local history, Underground Railroad, and the National Marine Sanctuary, as well as we updated all of the guides in Oswego. Tuscany Mall, we had a video advertisement for 13 tree farms. Oswego Facebook this month was about 13,200 people reached, and we have the elf around Oswego. If you want the elf to come to a local place or reach out to us, and we'll have them attend. The Thanksgiving week roundup and elf around Oswego came with over 4,000. On Instagram, top running post for steelhead fishing, elf around Oswego, and Christmas tree farms, and Dr. Mary Walker. Our Amazon truck in Pennsylvania is in Pittsburgh now. It's getting 75,000 views a day as opposed to last month where we got 34,000. Obviously, Amazon season, they see the truck more. It says Oswego County Tourism. Matching funds for I Love New York is 52,000, and we signed up for the New York Sportsman Show January 24th to 26th at the
State Fair?
State Fairgrounds. Yeah. That's all I have.
Well, can we request the elf comes to the legislative meeting? Okay.
Actually, he's official. He has a little name tag now that HR made him. So,
Okay.
an official
Got a name?
county employee. Ozzy.
Ozzy. Yeah, he can sit right next to you, Jim. Right up there in the front. We can have Ozzy the elf. You can join the show.
Does he get a vote?
Ex officio.
Good to have him talk.
Yeah.
Word of the day.
Okay. Any other questions, Dan?
Where you get that hat?
We have one, so I'll get you one.
I like that.
I think it's cool.
Match your shirt.
That's your shirt.
There we
That's
go.
my shirt.
Yeah.
Like
And I only other thing I can say is, go Bills. Yes. Yes. All right. Let's go into planning and
Yeah.
community development.
All right.
Mr. Tim.
So I want to start off with kind of a little bit downer. I just touched on this last month, but I wanted to bring kind of what the information that I had for you. So I will also send to Raven the full. This is only kind of a couple of the important pages, but there's a lot more to it. So I'll have Raven send you around the PDF of the entire document. This was presented to us in West Monroe October 30th to a public meeting. There was in the West Monroe Firehouse, and there were 52 people there, which is an incredible turnout for something like this. It was through it's called NORCOG, it's the Northern Shore Council of Governments. A number of those communities get together every month, and it was put on by Tug Hill Commission. And some folks from DEC were supposed to present on this in the room. And looking back, unfortunately, the woman who was supposed to do a Christmas for from DEC was not able to attend due to sickness, but she did do it virtually. And it's probably a good thing because that room got whipped up. I believe I have a virtual recording of it. I was curious and want to see it.
Might be why she didn't show up.
It probably was better. So ultimately went through their normal business for that monthly group, and then this presentation was done. And so again, I will send you the document. But a couple things that you really need to know about this is that this is your wetlands. So if you think about it, for years and years, 50 years, there's been these wetland maps that DEC has used. And if you were looking to do a project, you would need to check these maps. And if you're on the map, you'd need to then kind of go through with the review process. If you weren't on the map, or in the buffer zone later on that they added, you could kind of move forward without worrying too much about what DEC was going to say about your project. Starting January 1st of next year, so I mean it's happening next month, they have expanded out the check zone, so to speak. So before you look at the map, you're on the map, you need someone to review it. Now they say, well, maps they're old, we don't like them, we're not doing them anymore. Similar to what we do with our 239 review map. Like if some community says, I need to know if the county needs to review what we're doing, they look on our mapper tool, they put the address in, and if one of the triggers that they're close to a throughway or a border or things like that, they have to ask us to at least review it. Well, very similar to that, New York State DEC now is going to have these trigger zones on a map. And I gave you, in this document, you'll see on the fourth page, this unusual importance jurisdictional criteria. This is the list of trigger zones that would require you to have the state review your project for DEC. This is substantially more than were in here in years past. And as you look through this, in the document, you'll see there's more expansion of what these are. But so we expect, and if you look at the second page, they expect that they will double the amount of acreage under DEC review as a wetland through this process. Currently in our state, there's just about 1.2 million acres of wetlands that the state sees as a wetland. They expect to add an additional 1 million. And that could potentially be very difficult for our community. If you think about doubling the amount of wetlands, what does that mean? You don't just double it exactly across the state, right? There's certain areas of the state that have more wetlands. I think many of you know, we mentioned last month, have, if not the most, close to the most amount of actual acres of wetlands in the state. And doubling that could be very, very concerning. They're also doubling it in a way that could be concerning to us because they have this thing called within or adjacent an urban area. Well, according to that, essentially any one of our towns or villages or cities is going to be an urban area. And I believe it was 2.5 miles in any direction from that is going to be in the check zone. So what we anticipate, and our mappers in the planning office are already starting to look at it because the state has not put out what the map looks like for their trigger zones yet. We anticipate that it's going to cover a majority of our county. which means any project that any developer has that is 13 acres, 12.4 acres or more, will be required to go through a environmental wetlands mapping delineation project. What that means is you can't just take a map and say, okay, 12 acres of my 100 acres is on the map as wetlands, I need to deal with that 12 acres. No, you'll need to hire a company to come in and delineate your entire property, 100 acres, which could potentially give you 82 acres of wetlands that you now need to deal with or address. And you won't know until you've had it delineated, which you can't do until you start the process with the state. The state has said that they were expecting an additional 3 to 4 months to review the wetland delineation. So you got a project you want to do, maybe you want to buy property, but you don't know how much this is going to be wetlands. Now you have this whole additional 3 to 4 months of additional review for every project that falls within the check zone. So one of the other big concerns that we have with this is that if this does go through, and let's pretend you're a owner of a 100-acre property and you're assessed at $200,000, and the state comes in and says, wow, actually, 80% of your properties are now wetlands. You can't build on it, or you have, right? Well, you're going to go right to your assessor's office, and you're going to say, hey, wait a minute, you got me assessed at $200,000. DEC just said I can't do anything here. I want to reevaluate my assessment. And there could be some concerns countywide that we have some issues there. So, and this is not just us, obviously there are other counties that are seeing the same things. We have talked to Will Barclay's office. They are aware, and there is some other conversations about what this could look like. But we see this as an issue for the homeowners and the landowners, but also for development. Think about our county has a lot of open space, and with Micron coming here is the potential to want to develop some of that property. Well, now you take that and double the amount of it that is potentially unusable. That could be a huge issue. And as you can imagine, when this was presented to the 51 people in West Monroe, which essentially probably turned the entire town into a wetland if it wasn't already, there was a lot of outcry and frustration and concern by those residents. And it literally got to the point where the woman from DEC did not see this coming. She did not understand that they would be frustrated. And was very taken aback by their angry responses, and she said to them,
What a surprise.
she said to them, I don't understand, aren't you worried about the amphibians? And as you can imagine, the majority of the folks in West Monroe are not concerned about the amphibians. One of the other things, and this one is even more concerning, I know, right, is if you look at the last page, vernal pools. I don't know if anyone knows what a vernal pool is, but they've identified a vernal pool. A vernal pool is essentially anything that has a certain amount of amphibian eggs clusters in it. It's not on this page here, but you will see in the packet I send you that the area we live in defines how many egg clusters need to be there. It's essentially two egg clusters. You could have, and there's no size requirement to the size of the pool. It could literally be a tire track that went through a field that filled up with water, and maybe a couple eggs showed up there. Wow. And you are now, if you currently, I want to preface this, currently it's self-reported only. You would have to go to DEC and say, hey, I think I might have a vernal pool. Can you come check it out? And they would add you to the list. And once you're added to the list, look at this map on page, did it not print? Do you guys have it in your packet?
No.
800 feet in every direction surrounding a vernal pool is now a vernal pool zone and essentially a wetland. So just think about what that means. You drive your tractor through your pasture or whatever, your field, right? Fills up with a little bit of rain, and somehow it ends up on the map. The other piece is this could be weaponized is what we're concerned, because say you have a neighbor who's trying to put in a garage, and you don't want his garage that close to your property. Well, you just happen to find a vernal pool on your property, and you self-report it. And now 800 feet from that vernal pool cannot be developed. So it's a very big concern that we have brought up. Yes, sir.
That 800 feet, for context, around that vernal pool is 1,600 feet. That's 47 acres that would be in that diameter from 3 frog eggs.
That's 5 football fields.
Yes.
Wow.
Whoa, Val, could you talk to
So
me,
they've expanded the acreage that needs to be reviewed, whether it's a vernal pool or other. So, but did they add in additional restrictions on what you can do, or just expand the area that goes through review first?
That's a good question. Ultimately, what happens once they delineate a wetland is part of your process as you're developed that you have to go back with DEC for. We've seen
Right, because right now, if you have 100 foot, right now it's 100 foot check.
around the map.
Right, which means you gotta check with DEC. And then it doesn't mean you can't develop it. You have to go through a permitting process.
That's right.
So it doesn't restrict development. So that's why I'm wondering, do the new regulations put additional restrictions on as well as simply expanding the area further?
No, that's a great question. At least as of right now, all this is doing is essentially they're replacing the maps. What they're saying is we're no longer trust these 50-year-old maps to say that you have to our review. It doesn't mean you can't develop it.
Yeah, but
But it
they're
does
still
mean-
using the maps, aren't they, right now?
Only for informational purposes only.
And what, isn't the buffer 500 feet now? Didn't
No.
they create a new buffer?
No, I think maybe you're referencing these rental pools that they have reviewed. I don't think it's 500. There's 100
I've
foot
got
buffer.
somebody that's been bugging me that DEC is not letting them, he started building a house because he thought it was fine. He saw the maps, he was good. No, it's 500 feet, within something, and they're not letting them do it.
Jim,
I think it's important to know, and I've spoken with Assemblyman Barclay about this was not passed legislatively. This is bureaucracy that slipped it in through the budget process. So there's a number of Assembly people and senators that feel, they're quite alarmed by that a bureaucracy would do that.
it's gonna affect on so many different levels of what it's affecting.
Exactly. You might, like the North Shore of the Lake, write it off. You
Yeah.
can't build it yet.
Yeah, well, I know Scotland's already, I mean, it's,
And what we don't have is swamps, you sell it, making swamps.
I'm making swamps in Scruples, so even if it isn't already, so we even got even more, so. Very,
And that's a great point, because to Phil's point about what happens once you've been identified, there's not a strict set in stone, this is how you get through the process. They review it internally and let you know. Some of this micron stuff, they've talked to have, you've got the 800 acres of wetlands that they need to mitigate. Well, that means they need to go buy up or replace or create potentially 4 or 5 times as many acres. So the way that they review it and tell you what you need to do to satisfy them is also a little bit arbitrary. And they've added an extra 3 months of review time to every project. That's going to be one of the more bigger.
Plus, like perhaps in the town of Schuylkill, and there's a couple in Hastings, if they came and built a new swamp next to you, now your property you thought was high and dry was, thousands of feet from the creek or whatever.
so, yeah.
Now you're done because they brought the creek to you.
Salamander lives matter.
That's it. All right, and then also,
Why can't they move the eggs to another pool? I don't understand that. I mean, okay, I got a couple here, guys, I'll move you to a bigger pool.
and then starting in January of 28, they reduced it from 12.4 acres to be the threshold for review down to 7.4 acres, so almost half. So that'll, between all these, they expect to add 1 million acres.
I think they're trying to weaponize it to force us, in effect, new people to move to the cities.
Yeah.
So they can leave the
Yeah,
amphibian alone.
Well, that's a great point, is because this is going to affect us obviously substantially more than the developed communities, because they don't have wetlands. They've already filled them in. So again, something to keep in mind. We will keep you in the loop. There is not an opt-out, but if you can get your community, if someone's got a project that they're working, get the seeker started with their community next month. Get it done this month. Get it on the planning board for December, because if it is in before December 31st, they get grandfathered into the old rules. So just one piece of information. So that's it, and that's coming in January. I mean, the good news is they're still evaluating, but they're not going to evaluate the responses from the community before they put it into effect.
well, I do know at Soil and Water, DEC's worked for Soil and Water, so Soil and Water's got a lot more on their plate. They have to do all this.
Okay, so that's your update there. Let me know if you want any more of it, and again, I'll send that around to everyone. Kind of an interesting thing, our office, Community Development Office in Doniscan specifically put in the grant application, and we were awarded for a infrastructure study for our mobile home parks in the county. So if you know that you have mobile home parks in your community, and you think that they'd be willing to participate, we are working with our health department. So I want to be clear, anything we do is going to be public. And there are some privately owned mobile home parks that probably will have some concerns with that. So I've talked to a couple of the town supervisors where I know there's large congregations, and we're going to work together to see if we can help. Now, this is just for planning purposes only. This is evaluation. How bad is your drinking water? How bad is your wastewater? What else do you guys need? And then we would take the data from this to go to the state and help them get a grant, hopefully put in that infrastructure. So we will see. I've heard some of the owners, especially the ones that are not local, have some concerns about bringing the county in to their property. So
Most of them do because they generally have
you
violations.
can understand that. So.
Yeah. I know there's a creek in scruple that goes by a couple of the parks. But because Micron has bought land to make into wetlands, that creek's gonna go away. And I know that they can utilize that so it's gonna be interesting. Okay.
And then last one is that with the comp plan update. So we have, the legislature awarded the contract to EDR to do our comprehensive plan update, and we are in the process of finalizing the contract with them, and we'll hopefully get that started in the new year, January. So the plan is going to be put together in a steering committee of some sort, and we really want to make sure that that's made up of community members all across the county. So if there are people you believe should be part of that, and I'll also send an email out to everyone, the legislators. But if there's somebody you believe should be part of that, make sure you let us know who they are.
Okay, and they are reaching out to all different communities, correct?
Oh, yeah.
EDR is.
Oh, yeah, they will be.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Tim? Okay, last but not least, Mama, mobility management.
I have a couple quick updates, and then Kristen has a couple. After much back and forth with Centro, and I'm not sure if you've already given this update, but we have a meeting on the books. Centro approached us and said, we would love to do a redesign of Oswego routes. We want to make buses go back and forth a lot quicker from here to Syracuse, which is fantastic. They asked us to look at a couple stops that they might want to change, and so this is just the very beginning of it. They're going to be asking the community for lots and lots of stakeholder input, so everybody will be kept up to date on that, because they're going to have a series of meetings, and there's going to be a process during the redesign on how they're going to do it, but they want to improve the system over in Oswego. They're not looking at Fulton yet, but they are looking at the Oswego routes to do more of a bus rapid transit type system out there.
Okay, are they gonna reduce their routes?
We're going to increase the frequency of buses. So the routes may be shorter, but they'll be quicker back and forth. So there may be less stops in between here and Syracuse, for example, but they're also going to look at the inner city area of where the buses travel in Oswego. If they do decide, hey, there's not a lot of ridership at this particular location, we can take a look at adding that into one of our routes. If we want to pick that up, we can absolutely do that, because they will give up that jurisdiction at that point, and we are allowed to go in there and take over that stop.
Has our program cut into any of their ridership?
With our access service, no. So we have lots of conversations with them about that. That was one of their biggest concerns when we launched that program. However, when somebody books an access trip, they are looked at if they live along one of the routes that they recommend to take the fixed route first. But they've had an increase in ridership over the past year, so they haven't had any decreases or anything like that. Their ridership is increasing.
Maybe we're getting people to understand how useful a bus can be, and the ridership, and more people ride, oh, it isn't so bad, and yeah, it does go here to there, and I can do work while I'm waiting to go from one stop to the next, whatever. I just don't want them to reduce, and yet they're still getting the same amount of mortgage money or fee that we're paying them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like they're getting paid this no matter how many people they pick up.
Yeah.
And I hate to see them reduce the number of people they're picking up, and yet they're still getting money and we're picking up the expense. So that's why I think we need to keep
We'll make sure we're super involved. You guys will be included in those meetings and that planning process. We've been asking for this redesign. We want buses to go from here to Syracuse and here to Liverpool a lot quicker. So this will give us a lot of opportunity to help design a system to the community's needs.
This is it's an extremely positive move, long overdue, with our input.
As long as we're part of it, as you're saying, you will be.
Yep, they immediately reached out to us and said, how can we work together to make sure this redesign is successful for you guys?
Maybe they can send a letter to get somebody on board.
They get that we're already doing a lot of things that are starting to work, and this can make the whole system work better.
Well, they're seeing that you're very innovative and you're able to do these things that have proved to work, so why not jump on board? But so maybe they can write a letter too to the state to allow Oswego to be on their actual board. But okay.
We do have a grant, forgive me on the amount because I have buried in emails right now, but I believe it was a little over 90,000 that the state is giving us in our ATC budget, which we can use only on capital, strictly capital funding for items that have a 5-year or higher useful life cycle. So that application, they basically have us decide, okay, well, what are you guys planning on spending this money on? So we'll talk about that and figure out what is good, but we are getting funding for that, which is great. There is the New York 49 study is moving into the next phase. We've had some difficulty getting stakeholder engagement out in West Monroe, Hastings, Central Square area. So if you guys have representatives in that area that would like to attend, it's a traffic study. There's that area in Central Square that it's really trafficky by the freeway, and we want to make sure that, you know, this is Onondaga County's money. They're doing this study for us. And so if there's people that can give input, we'll keep you up to date on those meetings.
Just for clarity, I have a meeting in Syracuse this Friday at 10 a.m.
That's the one? That's the one. Yay. So we'll talk more about that there. And then Kristen has a couple super fun holiday updates for you guys.
So first, in your folders, I was able to get our schedule when we got reprints to have the new bus on the new branding. Yeah, it was exciting.
It's not a full redesign. It's just we put the new bus on the front. We were out of schedules, and they said, let's not print them with the OCO bus. Let's put our bus on there. So these are just reprinted schedules with our bus until we can get a full redesign of these out.
And then we got more access printed, which is nice. They got glossy paper. And then community outreach, I've been busy. I call it the marathon. We just went to a bunch of different departments and Oswego and Fulton. It was with Office of the Aging, go with that, do some senior fairs and New York Next fairs. So those were great to connect with a lot of different efforts that might be to connect with transit or see what options they have that are available to them.
Yeah. And these are mini fairs that Office for the Aging organizes inside of that building, so that residents can just come downstairs. There's like 5 or 6 tables of different groups set up, so that they can get resources at their facility. So if you represent a facility that you think could use one of these mini fairs, you can reach out to Elizabeth over at Office for the Aging, and you can get that set up, and we can get the group to come and hand out some materials.
And then I've just been also for the holiday bus rides. So we have one set up for the gardens, and Holy Savings Bank was able to sponsor it. So a lot of interest in that one. So, and then we're also doing self-care cleaning in our house. That one's in Alaska. They're doing that right as well. We was able to sponsor that.
So we did a couple buses last year to Lights on the Lake, where we got banks to sponsor it for the seniors to go see Lights on the Lake. So it's completely paid for them. So same thing. Kristen did a really good job of getting them the sign-up sheets and planning it, and the seniors really, really love it. Brought it back for year 2. So same thing again. If you work with a facility in your area, you have constituents that would love to do a trip like this to Lights on the Lake, let us know. We'll reach out to the sponsors and see if we can get a bus set up for them to go to Lights on the Lake.
Now, is there any buses for other people other than the seniors?
We haven't done that yet. If there's interest in that, we can definitely set up something for the general public to go to Lights on the Lake.
It would just seem that you're just going after the seniors, where there's a lot of families that might want to go see it, kids, that, to give them an opportunity. Somebody doesn't want to drive all the way there, or disabled, that, they aren't, in a senior facility, but there's an interest to go be able to do things like that. I think that reaches us out. We're not discriminating against the younger.
Yeah. This is just, facilities reach out to us and they say, hey, can we get a bus? And we're like, sure, let's, we'll reach out to sponsors for you, but we can open it up to the general public.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm curious to see, what kind of response you get, but I would think it would be.
maybe we could do like a press release or something
No.
to see if there's like interest from the public, say, hey, give our office a call if you'd like to go to Lights on the Lake, and
Yeah.
we get them to call us and have like a lunch.
Some-
Yeah, just you never know, there might be like, it's like, have local companies that don't have a vehicle that might want.
Yeah. I would like to say thank you so much for doing, incorporating the RAP bus in your communication, because people really need to understand that. And it's good that people are starting to see it and understand it. It's just,
Yeah, is there an update on the app, the schedule app?
That's definitely gonna be one of my focuses. I've been a little disappointed in the timeline that we were given from the vendor and the actual moving of the needle of the project. I know that they had some delays in the initial beginning parts of the project. And they do have to come out to the vendor and sit with them. They're not that far from us. They're in the city. I thought they were much farther, but the communication isn't there. So I need to get on top of that project and figure out.
Expensed any money to them yet?
We paid them, yeah. So we need them to start getting that developed for us, because it's too slow moving of a project and not what we were promised with our timeline. So that is definitely one of my main focuses for the remainder of the year.
could that be a breach of contract? They're not producing?
Did we give them a timeline in the contract?
I'm not sure. You could look into that. That's a good, rich question, though. We'll see how this, my thought is we'll see how this, first outreach goes, this meeting, and if we feel like they're not stepping up, we'll address it.
Because it's a great project, and I think everybody's anxious for it.
Yeah, it's taking longer than expected, and the timeline that they gave us did not happen, so I need to reach back out and say, hey, we have your people come down, we need to sit with our team and figure out, what other changes. We did have a really good meeting with them where they did come down for a couple days during the initial setup, and then I went on maternity leave, and I think it's been a little bit lacking.
Yeah, but they should, that's their job, so.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
I will be focusing on that.
Yes. That is our spearhead here with this great job at reminding us of it. Phil?
Yeah, just one thing. We've been talking in the past about the comprehensive plan incentive program for the municipalities. So I've withheld about roughly $50,000 of the internal ARPA money, but we've not made a decision whether we're going to move forward with that or not. There's two potential uses for that money. One is the incentive money, and if that's the route you want to go, I need to know, because I have to develop a motion for the legislature to act on the 12th to put it in the 25 budget. If you feel that there's not enough municipalities to actually use that money, the other potential use would be I'd reserve it and put it into the contract with workforce development towards their 2026 budget. So I don't know if I don't need an answer right now, but before the 12th, I need to know the sentiment of this committee or the legislature as to which way they want to go with that.
Do we know which towns do not have a plan, or those that, have reached out to us that they would love to do a plan, but they need money or an incentive? Do we have any of that data?
I can tell you that I have had great conversations with probably between 8 and 12 towns and villages about those funds. They all believe those funds will be available next year.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I would encourage you.
Okay, then that sounds
I
like.
would encourage you to have some funds available.
Okay. All right, so I'll work up that motion and dedicate that money to that.
Okay.
Sorry, Rachel.
I think.
So close, yet so far. So close, yet so far.
I think that once,
You're good at getting your own grants.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
once we make it more public that there are some funds, it could change the mind of a couple of communities too, to know that they're gonna get some money to help them cover the cost of putting it together.
And one of the things that my understanding was, we was also a direction of this group was that it wasn't necessarily just for plan development, because there were some towns and villages that had done a good job of staying out front of it, and they shouldn't be excluded from accessing these funds because they were proactive. And so the conversation with them has been more of a, can we contribute? You know, we're not talking about, $3,000 to $5,000 small amounts, but to maybe some sort of a project that goes along with what your plan says you guys need. And it was a way for the county to kind of participate as well. And they seem very open to that.
There's also a possibility, and I forwarded this on to Tim and Jay Grasso, our grant writer, the state's local government efficiency program grants, the new ones, are encouraging joint projects that they will fund up to $100,000, I think. And if we created a program for comprehensive plans for municipalities, and they participate with us, and we're funding part of it, maybe I'll use the same vendor, that may leverage $200,000 of grants to pay for those.
Well, just as an update, it's a great point. That LGE funds, our grant writer, Mr. Grasso and G&G, they've done a really good job meeting with our department heads. Bill had asked that we kind of reach out to them to see what kind of projects you guys had that could work with our municipalities. And so whether it's through purchasing, that was a cool option. Our highway folks have had some really good opportunities, maybe 911 as well. So areas where our directors interact with the towns and villages is another great point, but planning would be a good spot too.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have anything else to add to the committee tonight?
I just had one question for Bill, just to circle back to the first resolution. Would there be an abstract showing that expense transfer? I don't have one in my pack. Maybe there is.
What transfer?
I don't think it's,
No, the transfer sheet and resolution.
yeah, it's for the money.
I think the money is already both on the CARES expense line and the CARES revenue line. She was just granting their permission to actually use it for that purpose.
Okay.
So it's already there.
You're not changing it.
It's not being moved.
Those are the ones that are being moved.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, well then, I guess, motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor? Okay.